Today, I want to share with you in this video something that I encountered today. Something where I was actually trying to assist somebody that came to me and was fed up with the law of assumption, law of attraction, all this stuff, and was trying to pay me money to confess to them that the law of assumption isn't real, that it's all phony, that it's fake. And they were willing to pay me all this money just to tell them that. Which I refuse to tell them that because I'm not going to lie, okay? I'm not going to lie and say the law of assumption doesn't work because it's ridiculous to say that the law of assumption doesn't work. It's a fundamental law, and you can see that it works whenever you apply it. Whenever you apply it, and if you actually do it, you will see the results of it. Okay, so I got into this conversation with him, and so I told him that I would explain to him something that would be unexplainable, something that would be undeniable as it relates to the law of assumption and how you can know, how anyone wouldn't be able to question the law of assumption following this analogy that I used, and it was the placebo effect. Okay, so I went into the placebo effect, and not too long ago, I read a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, he has a book, and it's called You Are the Placebo. And this book is based on all kinds of testimonials about the placebo effect and how it's worked for countless people over and over and over. And it's all documented true stories where the placebo effect actually worked. And there was one story that he shares in there with 10 subjects that they all have the same knee condition. And this condition is a serious arthritis issue that these 10 subjects have. So they tell all 10 subjects that they're going in to get surgery, and the surgery is 100% effective. Okay, it always works for every subject that ever gets the surgery. Okay, so I actually have the book right here. This is actually the book, if you guys want to check this out. You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. No, I'm not sponsored in any way, but this is the book that I used an example for today. And what happened was these 10 subjects go back there, and five of them get the actual surgery, and 5 of them don't. However, all 10 of them were told that they got the treatment, that they actually had the surgery. So 5 actually got the surgery, 5 didn't, but all 10 of them were told that that they actually had the surgery, and it's 100% effective. Okay, so they wanted to see the results of this. So they waited a certain amount of days, and they went to interview each and every one of them. Okay, the 5 that didn't get the surgery, they all had the same results. They all had the same exact results, which was effective. Even the 5 that didn't have the surgery, they just believed that they had the surgery. They believed it. They were assuming that they had the surgery using the law of assumption. And they even went to visit these patients years after the fact, and they all still reported that their knees were perfectly fine, that the surgery had been performed properly. Everything worked out fine. So the law of assumption is what the placebo effect is, because if you're thinking you're getting something done and you're assuming that it is done, it is done. So if anyone out there watching this video right now has any disbelief in the law of assumption, then you have to say that the placebo effect isn't real, that all of these case histories are lies, every single one of them. And there are people that have been interviewed. There are countless, unnumbered testimonials where the placebo effect has worked. So the placebo effect is controlled by the law of assumption. If you think about it, it's exactly that. If you're assuming that you had surgery done, you were taken back there, but yet you didn't actually get surgery in the 3D world, the 3D world isn't real. The only world that is real is the psychological world, the internal world. So if your internal world believes that something happened, there's nothing in the 3D world that's going to change that. It's actually going to appear, and if they did an x-ray or they did show the actual knee, they would show that it was actually healed. Like in the same process, them believing it, the time it took for them to believe that it actually happened and occurred, that they had surgery, it was healed in that moment. And if you were to watch it, it would have healed exactly the same as the people that actually got surgery. And that's how the law of assumption works. So for me to tell anyone that the law of assumption isn't real, that's like saying the placebo effect isn't real, that all of these case histories never happened and they're all made up, which they are absolutely true, every single one of them. So long story short, I told this person that was trying to convince me or trying to get me to tell them that the law of assumption wasn't real or it doesn't work and that it was phony, it was just a scam. I told them to go into meditation every single day for 5 minutes, just for the next week. Every day for 5 minutes, go into a meditation and study and think about the placebo effect. Think about the placebo effect and all the unnumbered testimonials about that, and how the law of assumption is exactly that. You're assuming that you got something, but really in the 3D reality, you didn't. But it doesn't matter, because the 3D reality, the hologram that you're living in, isn't real. The only world that is real is the one in your imagination, because imagination is God. And that's what Neville Goddard was saying. Your imagination is God. And when you picture something, you visualize it, you change your feeling state, you change your inner talking to match up with having something, the world will you'll transfer to a different parallel reality where you actually did have that surgery, or you did get that amount of money, or you are now in that relationship. All you have to do is disregard your 3D world. You disregard your 3D world and you act as if it's already happened. And that is the placebo effect. So whenever you're manifesting something, think about the placebo effect and treat everything as if it's a placebo. Treat everything in your world as if it's a placebo, knowing that it works if you believe that it worked. If you believe that something happened, then it has to happen, because the real world is psychological. And if you can convince yourself of anything as if it's already happened, then it has to show in your 3D world, because you're just going to transfer to another parallel reality where it actually did happen. And even if they were to go get those 5 subjects that were told they had surgery, but they really didn't, and they put them under an X-ray machine, or they actually visualized, or they actually looked at the knee itself, it would be repaired. It would actually be repaired, and they would have transferred into a different parallel reality where they did actually get the surgery was actually performed on them. Because the psychological world is the only world that is real. The 3D world isn't real. And if you can look at your world like that, like circumstances don't matter. 3D circumstances don't matter in your life. And if you can believe that something actually happened, even though it didn't in your 3D world, that doesn't matter, because the real world is in your imagination. And I really wanted to get this video out because I wanted to share this, because I think this is really powerful as it relates to the placebo effect and the law of assumption. Everyone, people saying that it's a scam or whatever they want to say about it. But you cannot argue this. You cannot argue all the testimony, all the documented testimonials that have happened. Like, if you're using the law of assumption to create a lot of money, usually there's going to be, a logical sequence of events that if anyone on the outside's looking, they're going to be like, you said you use the law of assumption to make $1 million, but you created a business, you created a corporation, and that's how you got the money. But really, you were using the law of assumption. There just has to be something in the 3D world, usually it's going to produce that effect and make it, a logical sequence of events that took place in order for you to get that money. Okay, so somebody on the outside looking in is going to say, well, you got it because of this, or you got it because of that. It didn't just fall out of the ceiling on you. There's going to be a good reason why you got it. But with the placebo effect, that can't be argued. You cannot argue the placebo effect at all, because these things are taking place, and it's very magical. It's very magical because these five patients did not get performed on. The surgery did not happen with them, but yet they were completely healed by believing that the surgery actually did take place using the law of assumption. They were assuming that they did get the surgery, and that's what cured the issue. So what I want you to do is think about this. Think about the placebo effect. Think about how your circumstances in the 3D world don't matter, and how you can create anything you want in your world by assuming that you already have something. If you assume you had a surgery, it's going to be done. If you can believe that it actually happened, you can believe that you actually made $1 million. You can believe that you're actually in the perfect relationship, that your life is perfect. Everything in your life is perfect, the perfect physique. And it all comes down to the naturalness of it. So if you can actually believe that 100%, then it will happen magically. And the placebo effect actually proves that. There doesn't have to be a logical sequence of events that need to take place in order for something magical to come into your life. It's just based on your beliefs and the naturalness of it when you're using the law of assumption to create something, like a great business or something, or just a lot of money, like winning the lottery or things like that. People are going to say you just got lucky. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you have a 100% belief that something actually took place, you don't actually need that. And the placebo effect proves that's true. So I believe that this is a great exercise for everyone to do. Even if you use the law of assumption and it works for you all the time, still take a couple minutes or even a minute out of every single day or just a few times a week and study the placebo effect. Meditate on the placebo effect and how that works and how it doesn't need a logical sequence of events in the 3D world to see a manifestation take place. Just by believing 100% that something happened in the past, it's already happened. It's already happened. That's the law of assumption. When you imagine something, when you visualize it, or when you say, I am rich right now, or I got rich yesterday, I've been rich for a month, you're putting it behind you, just like the placebo effect, and believing that it already took place. But meditate on this just a couple minutes a day or a few times a week, just to get this back in your mind and just to remind yourself that circumstances don't matter, that the world you're living in is a hologram and you can create anything that you want. All right, guys, I love you guys very much. And don't forget to give me one thing you guys are grateful for in the column box below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.